And every day, we would, as soon as we would have to travel from the training facility was up in the mountains. And so we would have to travel down the mountain, through town, and across town to get to that facility. And it took about an hour and a half journey to get there. So as soon as, before we left, we'd have breakfast. As soon as we would get there, we would have a snack, which was usually another meal. And we would have daily briefings right there in their kitchen. It was just warm and welcoming. This is the building around the corner from the Corps. I would call it like the feeding center. It's like the community center. Excuse me. And that's where we did our maintenance project. It was a mess. I mean, this is what it looked like when we first got there. I mean, this is a fairly decent picture. Cleaned out. But it was really in a state of disrepair. And they didn't really use it because it needed a lot of work. And we only had 4 days to do what our mission was. And we were going to redo the roof, redo the ceiling, and paint the facility. And our team, we decided to hire contractors, local contractors, which I was really glad they did, because we let them take the lead. They knew how things were done in Costa Rica, and we let them tell us what they wanted us to do to support them in this project. And they were glad to have the work. They did an excellent job. And whatever we didn't finish, we felt, you know, like the project was in good hands because we knew that they would finish up what we couldn't do in 4 days. So that's our roofing team. We have the oldest and the youngest up on the roof. I didn't get to make that team, so that's okay. And I like that because these guys were like in their 20s, early 20s, and at the end of the trip they said this is something that they thought that they would never do, that they could do roofing work, but they got up there and they did an excellent job. This is the inside of the building. You can see at this point we've taken all the ceiling down, and we started after we did the ceiling, we started prepping the walls for painting. And again, there's the butterfly right there at the facility. Every day I would take it with me. And the feeding center remained open throughout the whole time the construction was going on. I think if it was in America, the health department would have been out there to say, hey, stop. But it was so important to make sure that these kids in the community got that one hot meal a day. And the volunteer women were just so wonderful because we would go and work in the morning, break for vacation Bible school for an hour and a half, and then come back in the afternoon to work. So we would destroy the place in the morning. And then by the time it was time to feed the kids at noon, these volunteer moms had that place completely clean, tables wiped down, tables set. I was just in awe at how well everybody worked together. The facility, they relied on feeding 80 kids hot lunches a day. And they only had plates to support 25 or 30 kids. We were constantly washing dishes. Here's one of the after pictures. You can see it's got new lighting and a new ceiling in the kitchen. And then this is the community area where the tables are. So in addition to us doing that project, we had money left over. And so the Salvation Army was going to supply them with new tables and chairs and dishes sets for 80 place settings for the kids. And they were so grateful. They were really grateful. And then our next mission was to do Vacation Bible School. We did that every day as we broke between doing the maintenance work. That was a lot of fun. Every night we would meet at the training facility. After we're exhausted from working every day, we would still meet until like 9 o'clock at night to get organized for the next day. And they asked us each to bring something from our Corps to contribute. We contributed balls and jump ropes, and I got kites and puzzles, and I wasn't sure if they even knew who Dora the Explorer was, but they seemed to be familiar with everything our kids are familiar with here. And just like our kids here, if they get a new toy, they're ecstatic. You know, it doesn't have to be anything very expensive. They just were in such joy to have something shared with them. And I just want to let you know that, you know, the money you contributed did a lot for these kids. These are just some pictures from Vacation Bible School. We split up into 3 groups where they did outside activities, arts and crafts, and worship. The worship was a little crazy. They had a really cute little song where they were just, you know, the kids just really went crazy on that one. I was the photographer, so I wasn't in many pictures. And then this is the group shot at the end of Vacation Bible School at that facility. We did a joy hour at a daycare center, which was really nice too. All the kids were just so precious. And then at the end, we had one day of rest where we could go out and explore San Jose. We went to the waterfalls garden, and the waterfalls were just beautiful, just beautiful. We had lunch there. It's just a wonderful place on earth. So even though I didn't get to see the Pacific Ocean and all the Gold Coast over there, this was even more special to me because I got to work with the people in the community. The last day we had a service. Before I had left to go to Costa Rica, my daughter was visiting from South Africa, and we took her to the hospital where my daughter worked. And I remember looking on the wall. She works at West Bloomfield Ford Hospital. And on the wall, there was all the names of the people who had contributed to the building of that building. And I said to myself, I told my daughter, I said, boy, I wish I could get my name up on the wall, but I don't have $1 million to contribute to something like that. So on the last day of the service, we participated, and everyone showed humility and gratitude for the work that was done, and us working as a team. And then they honored us with this plaque. It's a beautiful marble plaque. And I cried because they put each of the team members' name on the plaque. And I'm crying. And in the community center where we worked. And that was just so special. And you know, when we were giving away our gifts, putting together the night before our gifts to the core members there, we maybe had dollar bags from the dollar store, we had t-shirts, we had these things. But the gifts that they gave us in return for the service that we did was just from, you know, they reached deep into their pockets and it was from the bottom of their hearts. It was just wonderful to see that exchange of love with the team. And so this was our last day. We finished up the service and we were going to go home and pack from there. There were a few surprising things that I saw on the trip. This is some ships that I saw going across when I was in the plane going into the Panama Canal. It was just a wonderful sight to see all these shipping freighters out there waiting their turn to go into the canal. Catherine had made arrangements for me to go from Royal Oaks to Grand Rapids to meet some team members at the Salvation Army there. And when I got there, I was like, oh, Catherine, look at this facility, because it was beyond anything I had expected. And I realize now that that's what they call, I'm still new to the Salvation Army, they call it a Croc Center. And has anybody seen the Croc Center before? It's fantastic, isn't it? They had a pool, they had a gym, they had all these wonderful things. It was really beautiful. Another surprising thing was that the community that we worked with, it does struggle for safety and food. There was an incident with gangs right before we got there. And I'm thankful that it happened before we got there because the police presence was there in force to help keep us safe. And to be honest, when I was there, I didn't feel unsafe at all. It was just a community of people, you know, living and working, trying to get through their day. And the other thing, the last thing that was quite surprising to me was the exhibit of love between one another of the people there. Everyone held hands, they held arms, they all walked together, they all greeted one another, they treated us with such love. It was just really a great experience. in Costa Rica. Without your support, I don't think I would have been able to go. So